This is a big week for Democrats. I know a lot of people say Kern County, Republican stronghold. Why should folks be paying attention to this week in Chicago?
This is an exciting time for Democrats. Obviously, Kamala Harris now coming in as the presumptive nominee, but almost certainly entirely the nominee of the Democratic Party. This brings so much of more momentum for the local party here because it's getting young people involved, it's getting people of color involved, it's getting people that are moderates, might not even be Democrats involved because they just don't like Donald Trump. They're afraid of what a presidency of Donald Trump would look like. They're afraid of what Project 2025 would do to Kern County. So here locally, although it might seem far away in Chicago, the Democratic Party, the Democratic National Convention is really having an effect here locally and getting people engaged, motivated to come out and vote and really get active in our local campaigns because really all politics is local. It's going to make sure that our local candidates for school board, city council, board of supervisors, the assembly, everything else down ballot also is carried with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket.
And what big local issues are you hoping that Kamala Harris and the Democrats address this week that you hope can help you out here and can help the county out here?
I think both here in Kern County, statewide, and nationwide, some of the biggest topics are obviously the economy. How do we tackle inflation? How do people get better living wages? How do people pay their bills? And I think Kamala Harris and Walz have the answer to those questions, and it's going to affect us here locally. I mean, she just proposed a new child tax credit for middle-class families. That's going to be revolutionary. I mean, we saw that with the Biden administration with her, obviously as vice president, but and now expanding that and giving even more money to put more money into the pockets of middle-class Americans. We're not talking about tax cuts to the rich. We're actually talking about giving those credits back to the American people, back to middle class, and raising them from the middle outwards. We're also going to make sure that we obviously tackle inflation. We're going to bring those housing costs, bring those shipping costs, bring all the costs down to make sure that it's affordable to buy things, buy groceries, pay your bills on time, do all that kind of stuff. And then obviously, President Biden has been a champion and making sure that student debt is being tackled correctly. I think Kamala Harris is obviously going to continue that legacy and make sure that students aren't burdened by student debt for the rest of their lives, that they're able to actually reinvest into the local economy, reinvest in their education, reinvest in their children's education.
What about the criticism that why isn't that getting done now if she's already part of a presidential administration? How do you respond to that?
Look, you got to look at COVID as a factor. And I know we've used that as an excuse for the last 4 years, but it's the truth. We went through a once in a generation pandemic. That's not going to be solved overnight. Thank God Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in 2020 and was able to bring us out of that pandemic. But there's still obviously going to be repercussions from that time. We're still experiencing to this day shipping delays. We're still experiencing staffing shortages. We're still experiencing the repercussions of COVID. But thank God we have had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to guide us out of that dark time. We're finally coming out of that. We're seeing inflation go down to its lowest level since before the pandemic. We're seeing interest rates come back down. We're seeing record low unemployment rate. I mean, we could argue that the economy is crumbling. It's really not. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years. We have the highest stock market in decades. We have people getting the highest wages in decades. The economy's working. It's just taking a lot longer to bring those inflation rates down. But I think with Kamala Harris as our next president, with a Congress that's controlled by the Democrats, with the Senate that's controlled by Democrats, and with local leaders here like our city council members, our board of supervisors, I think we're going to be able to tackle these issues head on. And I think the rest of America is with us. They're afraid of what Donald Trump would mean for America if he's elected president. That we're going to become a more divisive country. We're going to lose our democracy, and we're not going to see the changes that he's promising. These are tax cuts to the rich. This is not going to be tax cuts to the American people. This is not going to be helpful for the American economy. This is helpful to his millionaire and billionaire friends.
Well, the last question I want to ask you, and it talks about what we were talking about earlier. You were coming out of a campaign meeting before this interview, and you talked about the importance of campaigning locally for these down ballot races, not just the ones on top of the ticket. How important is organization and hopefully from this DNC convention, I imagine for you guys trying to get the party as organized as possible come November, whether it's the presidential race, whether it's a congressional race, which I know really matters a lot here in this district with Rudy Salas against David Valadao, and then even those races for the smallest of seats that may have the most importance when it comes to local politics.
Look, everyone has all eyes on Chicago and the Democratic National Convention and Kamala Harris. We're all excited. She's re-energized our base. She's getting young people active. She's getting moderates to come to our side. We're really excited about that. But what that means for us here locally is that we have now a new boost of energy to help our school board races, our city council races, our board of supervisors, who don't always get that attention, right? I mean, there's hardly anyone that could say what their actual school board members do, what their names are, or what their city council or board of supervisors do and what their names are. But that actually, in my opinion, is more important because all politics is local. To be frank, I don't ever expect any of the presidential nominees to ever visit Bakersfield and walk these streets, but you know who will? Your school board members, your city council members, your board of supervisors members, your congressional members. They live here. They're our neighbors. They walk the same streets. They go to the same grocery stores. Those are the races that we really should be focused on because they are going to have the biggest impact here locally. And I encourage everyone to, look into those races, get informed, get educated about what these races have meant to us in the past and what it's going to mean to elect good representatives moving forward. A lot of these are oftentimes nonpartisan even. So it doesn't always fall amongst party lines. Obviously, we have our Democratic nominees, but these are nonpartisan issues that we're not going to be fighting, Republicans and Democrats against each other. These are going to be issues where, we need to fix our streets, get better parks, get better law enforcement, get better education. These are issues that everyday Americans care about. And those are ones that we should be focused on, not just the top of the ticket.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Murcia with Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now on YouTube. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel where we have tons of great content to choose from. While you're here, go ahead and click on the subscribe button right there. That way you can stay up to date on all the things related within Kern County. Thanks for watching.